Hello and welcome to the first of 3 workshops helping us be creative in the places that we live. My name's Greg, and at the end of these 3 workshops we will be writing a little song or a little poem. But before we get to that, we have to do some things to try and make that activity, that process, a little bit easier. And we have to try and find some interesting things to write about. I say interesting. In this first session, I want you to go and find 3 of the most boring objects you can find wherever you are. So perhaps you might just be in a room, perhaps you might be in a house, you might be in a kitchen, wherever you are. You can look all over the house, you can look in just that room, go out into the garden. But I want you to find 3 items that you think are really, really, really boring. Off you go. Now, you have your 3 boring objects, your 3 boring items, and you should also hopefully have your pieces of paper, or I'm going to use my notebook. What I would like you to do next is, in the middle of each of those pages, in the middle of one page, I would like you to draw 1 object. So you will have 3 different pages, and in the middle of each of those pages will be a different one of your boring objects. And I'd like you to draw that boring object in the middle of that page. You can try and draw a direct replica of that object. You could perhaps try and draw a cartoon of that object. You could try and draw a really abstract version of that object, however you want to draw that object. But there is one rule. You have to personify this object. So you have to give it some personal characteristics, make it a little bit more human, perhaps some eyes, some big bushy eyebrows. However you want to personify the object, you have to personify each object, and you can do as much detail as you want, and this is where you can be really, really creative. So if you want, you can just use a pencil. If you want, you can just use a pen. If you want, you can use paint, you can use whatever you've got in your house, as long as you're allowed. You could maybe add in some tin foil, you could maybe add in some pipe cleaners, some ribbon, whatever you want to add in. You can keep it really, really simple, or you can make it really, really elaborate. And you can take as much time as you want. I reckon we should pause here to give you as much time as you want to draw 1 or create 1 of your boring objects in the middle of 1 page. So, I'm going to show you what I've done, and they're probably completely different to yours, and I'm sure yours are a lot better than mine, but I'm going to show you mine. The first one I've done is I've got a little light bulb here, a really boring light bulb, but I've given it this this light around it with some paint, so it's got a hue, and I've also personified it with a little cute face here, and also some little green legs. I've also got my second item. I've got a vacuum cleaner. One of the most boring items in a household, I think. A Hoover, a vacuum cleaner. And I've personified it. I've given it some wings, some hair, some nice orange eyes. And I've given it a little name. Can you see there? Vinny Vacuum. Vacuum Vinny. So that's my second boring item. And my third item is a tie. I think ties are very, very boring. I only own 1 tie in my cupboard. And to make it a little bit less boring, I've given it loads of colour. I've added a little alien to the top of the tie, and I've called it Tanya, the tie-wearing tiny alien. A little bit of alliteration in there as well. So we have 3 different pages with 1 creature, 1 object, 1 thing in the middle of each. Now, I'd like you to get 3 different pages, and in the middle of 1 page, I would like you to write the name or the object. So I've got light bulb in the middle of that page. I have got Tanya tie in the middle of that page, and I've also got a page that says Vinny the vacuum. Now, that is the middle of your spider diagram. And I want you now to complete a spider diagram about each of your objects, getting as much information down, because when we come to write our poems and our songs later, if we've got more information in our heads, it makes getting more words on the page a little bit easier. So around the middle of my spider diagram, I have written lots of things that I associate with, that I think of when I think of Hoovers in general, and also my quite specific, cool Vinnie the Hoover. Here's what it looks like. And I'm going to complete one spider diagram for each item. Off you go. Now, that is the end of this session. In the next session, we are going to think about starting to write our poems and songs about these objects and about these creatures, these personified objects that you have created. But before I go, I thought I'd give you some ideas about other things that you can do with these wonderful things that you have created, these wonderful drawings and paintings that you have done. Perhaps you could write a story including them as characters, or you could write a story about each of their backgrounds. How do they come to be in your room? How do they come to be in your house? You could also perhaps create a little cartoon, a little storyboard, a little cartoon of how they all know each other, or about their lives, or about something that one or all of them get up to. You could also try and create little models of them if you've got some materials in your house. I might go and try and create Vinnie Vacuum out of some toilet roll, the centre of toilet rolls, and some kitchen foil. I think I might go and try and do that. You could also maybe create fact files about the characters. So tell us a little bit more about them. Have they got any family members in your house? You could also create a map of your room or your house and where these objects, where these items, where these characters live. I'm sure you can come up with some other ideas as well. So if you want, you can take these characters and do something completely different with them. They're your characters and they're brand new. But in our next session, we're going to start to think about writing about these characters, writing some poetry and some songs about them. See you in the next session.